Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to NASA's Johnson Space Center for today's post-mission management team briefing, the last MMT of the mission of Discovery to the International Space Station. Joining us today is Leroy Cain. He's the Deputy Manager of the Space Shuttle program, and of course he also chairs the MMT throughout the on-orbit phase of the mission. I'll turn it over to Leroy for some comments, and then we'll take questions from here in the Kennedy Space Center and out on the phone bridge. Leroy.
Okay, thank you, Kyle. Well, good morning to all of you. It's great to be here as we wind up the mission of Discovery. The crew on orbit is doing very well. The Discovery continues to perform outstanding for us, as she has the entire mission. In the mission management team today, we reviewed a few items. We reviewed the completion of the thermal protection system inspection, and there were no issues there, so the team did an outstanding job getting all that wrapped up. The timeline had been such that wouldn't be wrapped up till later today, but they put, I think they kind of pulled an all-nighter, and they were able to get through all the data reviews and be able to report to the MMT today. So no issues there. The team reported on one item from the flight control system checkout. There was a transient on one of the flight control system avionic boxes, had a power transient. It has recovered, and so that'll be no issue for us. Essentially, if it were to recur and not recover, it would be a loss of redundancy, and so that system, it's a quad redundant system, so there are no issues or concerns with that, and it's back to ops nominal. The entry flight director will be over later today to talk about the entry plan. We did review that at the mission management team yesterday. And we reviewed the weather again today, and that all looks very, very good for tomorrow. I was in talking with the integrated shuttle and space station team a couple days ago. I was commenting about what a superb docked mission this has been for us. We couldn't be more pleased in terms of being able to accomplish all of the mission objectives. The team just did an outstanding job in execution. And of course, we had the pleasure of staying for a couple extra days. It's nice to have that flexibility, and in this case, it really paid off. I think having the ability to do that really is a tribute to the broader team. It takes a lot to be able to do that, because it takes a lot to be able to do that before you ever launch the vehicle. So the vehicle performance has to be outstanding. To allow us to be able to work through additional days on orbit without having to deal with systems or other spacecraft issues. And obviously we didn't have to deal with any of that. In order for that to happen, the processing on the ground has to be done in such a way as to provide a vehicle that is that pristine once you get on orbit. So the entire space shuttle system just performed outstanding on this entire mission. And then, of course, in order to be able to have the flexibility to add a couple of days, you also have to have perfect and flawless execution once you get into the mission. And so, I think, as I said a couple of days ago when I was here, we plan well, we train well, and we execute well. And when we're able to do all of that, then we get to stay for a couple more days and help the space station program out some more. And that all came to fruition on this mission, I think, in a way that I couldn't have possibly written a script that would have had it come out better. So we're just very, very pleased with how the mission is going. Now that Discovery is alone, free flyer, we have one major milestone remaining, obviously, and that is to get the crew of Discovery and get Discovery back safely. So we look forward to that tomorrow with our landing opportunities at Kennedy Space Center. We've had an awesome display here of the capabilities of the team and of the hardware, and we're very happy to be bringing STS 133 to a close in the fashion that we are, and we look forward to landing tomorrow. So I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, we'll start here, of course, as usual, and then check with KSC and out on the phone bridge. We'll start on the front row right here with Gina.
Gina Sinceri, ABC News. I'm sort of collecting this question from everyone. What do you think the legacy of Discovery will be?
Well, I think the legacy of Discovery is, as a specific orbiter within the shuttle fleet, in some ways will be the way that we were able to fly return to flight missions with Discovery. Discovery was important to us, of course, as we returned from to flight after Challenger as well as after Columbia. So that'll be a special tribute to the Discovery vehicle. There will be others. I think in a broader sense, though, Discovery is part of the shuttle fleet. The legacy for the shuttle fleet and the shuttle program, undoubtedly, in my mind, will be the space station. We could not have assembled this marvelous facility in orbit without the capability of the space shuttle system and the team that makes it happen. So that, in my opinion, is the biggest legacy for the shuttle program, not to mention just Discovery.
Anybody else? No? Okay, let's see. We'll go to the Kennedy Space Center. I understand there's a couple of folks there with some questions.
Hello, this is Marcia Dunn of the Associated Press. I'm wondering, do you see Discovery's flawless flight that it's completing? Is it a way? It could either be a way to go out on such a high note, or it could possibly be a strong demonstration, a striking demonstration of all the lifetime left that could be flown. How do you see this falling out, Leroy?
Well, that's an interesting question, Marcia. You know, a few years ago when we started working in earnest on the plan to phase down the shuttle program within the context of the overall vision of the agency, one of the things that we decided as a program, and we felt very strongly about it then, and we've continued to hold it as our mantra, and that is that we wanted to finish strong. And so, for example, if we had little problems or issues that we were working, it would never be acceptable for us to say, well, we're only flying a few more flights, or we're only flying X number of more flights. We don't really need to work that problem very hard. Our mantra all the way along has been we want to finish strong. We want the last flight to be the safest. And so I think it has been our goal all along to do that. And I think you're seeing that play out, as I said earlier, on this mission in particular, with one major milestone remaining. I couldn't be more pleased with where we are.
Thank you. And April 19, how is that looking for the next launch?
April 19 looks very good for us for the launch of Endeavour on STS-134, the ULF-6 mission with Space Station. As a programming note, we do plan to roll the stack Endeavour and the stack to the launch pad tomorrow in the evening. I think we have a tentative time for rolling to the pad of 8 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow evening. So the team is on track, and we have a pretty standard pad flow, as I understand it, and we're looking beyond this mission. Once we get Discovery landed, we are really looking forward to the Endeavour mission, and we feel very good about the schedule and about the launch date of the 19th.
And end of June for Atlantis, might that be pushed a little to just give a little bigger gap between the next to the last flight and the very last one?
Well, we have a target date, Marcia, right now of June 28th. I think you'll see us maintain that target date for the foreseeable future. And we have the ability to fly in that time frame. And so unless something changes, it's our plan that we would fly that mission at the end of June.
Bill Horowitz, CBS News. Two quick ones for me. Leroy, without having to go consult the data books or whatever, I can't remember a post-Columbia flight that was as clean as this one from a TPS standpoint and from system anomalies. Not that it's, you got to give me a definitive answer, but is that your impression as well, or am I overlooking one?
No, I'm smiling a little bit, Bill, because I was talking with one of my colleagues before I came over about that very thing. You know, I would be hard pressed to find a mission of any one of the orbiters that has been cleaner. And then I can even go further than that and say the entire space shuttle system, to include the motors, the boosters, the space shuttle main engines, the external tank, the ground systems, for launch, and the entire STS system, I think, has been as clean or cleaner, and the performance has been as good or better than any that we've ever flown, to my knowledge. Now, as soon as I say that or you say that, somebody will challenge me on that, but it's a very difficult thing to argue that point, I think, quantitatively. And so I think you're on the money, and I would agree with you if you were to say that this has been the cleanest and best performing mission that we've seen of Discovery.
Thanks. And one last one from here. This is really a shuttle program question, but since you're sitting there, I'll ask you anyway. I'm hearing that you guys are not going to do a tanking test for 134, and since this is related to tank performance and you were involved in that, can you give us an update on that? Thanks.
Sure, Bill. Yeah, we've been discussing it, and we have talked about the pros and cons of a tanking test, and based on where we are with ET-122 and the work that we've done on it and the data that we have on the tank, we feel very comfortable not doing a tanking test, and so our current plan is to not do a tanking test once we get out to the pad, and so the schedule will reflect us a pad flow that does not have a tanking test in it.
Okay, I think that's it from KSC. If it is, we'll check with the phone bridge. I think Irene Klotz is on. Irene?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you. Leroy, I just had a question, and sorry if this is going to sound kind of blunt, but in light of the fact that there is no follow-on program right now for the shuttle, do you think it's a mistake to end it?
Well, I think it's always been our plan that at some point we would no longer fly the shuttles. And so I feel very strongly that the agency is about exploration and about getting beyond low Earth orbit. And so at some point, we need a system that can do those missions, and the shuttle's frankly not that system. So we will move on from the shuttle program and from flying the shuttles as we go toward the future here. And I think in years to come, history will tell about timing and decision points, and people can judge things looking back in that regard. But it's been a great vehicle for us. You can't argue with the success and the accomplishments of the construction and operation of the space station, which would not have been possible without the space shuttle system. Of the satellite rescue missions that have been performed, the Hubble servicing missions, and we can go on and on as we talk about the legacy of the shuttle system. So we're moving forward. I think we're moving forward in a way that we'll be able to look back on the shuttle system and be very proud of what we were able to accomplish.
Thank you. And I had just one other question about landing. Is there any kind of extra issues involved because this being the last flight of returning the shuttle to Florida for money savings reasons or anything else? Or are you going to basically let the landing flight team call it the way they normally would if this was any other mission? Thanks.
Yeah, no changes whatsoever. We're not asking for and haven't directed the team to do anything different, and they'll operate under their normal the normal course of their operations, and that's true of deorbit entry and landing as well.
Let's see, James Dean, Florida Today. James, are you on the line?
Yes, Cal, thanks. Leroy, excuse me, I was just wondering, from a management perspective, has this been a more difficult flight to handle, being the last one for an orbiter? Obviously, there was no negative impact to the mission itself, but have you had a sense of distractions having to be dealt with? And we've seen people their last day on the job and all those sorts of things. Has that been any kind of an issue for the flight?
No, not at all. And to the contrary, I mean, I've never seen people more focused and more intent on doing a good job than what they are today. So when we get about inside the flight readiness review time frame on into launch and then launching and getting on orbit and executing the mission and then landing and post landing, we get in sort of that time frame, we're kind of in the zone. And the people that work on the program pretty much are in that zone, and I've seen no exception in that regard during this mission. As I said, to the contrary, I've never seen the team as focused as they are now, and so it makes me very proud to be part of this team.
And how satisfying is it, given all the questions for a year or two or so about how these final flights could be flown out safely with all the pressures involved, to get this first one back in tomorrow? How do you feel about that?
Well, as I said earlier, and of course this is never easy, right? If it was easy, anybody could do it, and a lot of people probably would be doing it. But it's very challenging to launch rockets and to fly them in orbit and to do things when you're flying in orbit, and then to return them safely to the Earth is just real hard to do. And so we knew that it was going to be a challenge to fly out the program, and we knew that we'd be a little bit more challenged just because we have to draw down as we go along, and so we've done that, but we've executed, and we haven't deviated from our core principles and our core values of how we want to run the program and how we want things to happen. And that is to say, when we show up to launch, we want to know that we've turned over every rock and we're ready to go. I think the work that the team did on the problems we had with the tank stringers it illustrates the fact that there is no give up in this team. There is no quit. They were as intent on technical excellence and getting to the real root of the problem in working that problem as I've seen this team on any problem in the history of the shuttle program that I've been associated with. So we knew that it would be more challenging because we have fewer numbers to work with. And we also knew that may mean it may take us a little longer to solve any given problem. But we also knew that we weren't going to satisfy for anything less than being absolutely comfortable that we're ready to go fly safely. And we demonstrated that before we launched this mission as we worked through those tank problems. So that's an example of knowing that we can still have problems, we can still have challenges, we can still have issues, but we're not going to deviate from executing, whether it's before we go fly or as we're flying the mission, from what we have been doing. And so I feel very good about the fact that we were able to fix the tank and to be able to go fly safely. And the way the team and the vehicles have performed on orbit during this mission, as I said earlier, we couldn't be more proud and happy with the outcome here. This mission is not over, obviously. As I said earlier, our biggest major milestone remains, and that is to get the crew and Discovery back on the ground safely tomorrow, so we look forward to that. And our mission as a program is not over. If we have one mission left, we might as well have 10 left, because we don't treat it any differently. We take them one at a time. We plan, we train, we execute one at a time. And so we're going to do that for the 2 remaining missions. And I feel very good about where we are as a program and our ability to go do that. And we're going to finish strong.
Okay.
Technical question: does the fact that you're not doing a tanking test on 122, does that mean you also will not need to do that on the next tank, or is that a totally separate decision?
It's really separate, and it's separate because they're 2 different tanks in terms of their heritage. They're 2 different tanks in terms of the assembly and the materials, and for a whole range of reasons. technical reasons. So it's a different discussion, and you're referring to ET-138 for STS-135. And so it's a different discussion for ET-138 than the one we've had for ET-122. So we haven't made a decision yet about ET-138 as it relates to whether or not we'll do a tanking test. That decision is in front of us, and we'll have those discussions going forward.
Okay, I think that's all on the phone bridge, so we're back here for any remaining questions, and we'll start there with Mark.
Mark Carreau for Aviation Week. I wanted to pick up on James' question on the ETs. Have all the tanks now been modified with the radius block and the other checks or modifications you made to the tank that launched Discovery?
The ET-122, the one that we just stacked and we're getting ready to roll out for STS-134, the next mission, has been modified, and we're in the process of doing the modifications on ET-138, or we will be in the process.
Okay. Seeing no more questions, a couple of programming notes. It's been a great mission so far with a day to go, as Leroy mentioned. Tony Sakachi, the entry flight director, is still on console with his entry team doing their L-1 checkouts of Discovery. He'll be over here to discuss his entry strategy with you at 1 o'clock Central, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll obviously have our usual flight day highlights that start at 8 o'clock tonight after the crew goes to bed. The crew will wake up for entry Wednesday morning at 2:23 Central Time and prepare for the deorbit preparation activities. Tony and his entry team will be in shortly after that at 3:30 tomorrow morning Central Time, and then the 2 landing opportunities that are available to him and the entry team and the crew of Discovery are at the Kennedy Space Center tomorrow at 10:57 Central and 12:34 p.m. Central. Those are the 2 landing opportunities, so we'll see how that goes, and Tony will lay all that out for you here in just a little while. So with that, well, thank you guys for coming. It's been a great mission so far. Leroy, thanks a lot, and we'll head back to Mission Control and back to space. Thanks.